Today's episode is sponsored by Raul Rodriguez Law.
So as you know, right, but as they're about to find out, I wasn't here last week for last week's podcast, mainly because I was busy having my second daughter, right? She came out last week. As of this, when you see this episode, she'll probably be about 3 weeks old or so. But, you know, I'm experiencing so many different things with the second one. You know, it's a lot different than the first one. Very different, you know. Someone at the gym said, 1 is good. When you go to 2, it's like 5. You know, and I don't know if I believe that necessarily, but it's definitely not the easiest thing. I'm not sleeping right now.
Yeah, and wait till they're 2 years old.
Yeah, I'm running on 1-2 hours of sleep, and you know. But what I wanted to talk about today was more of like the mental health aspect of fatherhood. You know, kind of redefining what that's like nowadays as of where it was. We've covered this before, but with me being a new dad again, right, having 2, I kind of have a different perspective of the demand of it. You know. I've had Vinay for almost 7 years, right? She's going to be 7. And it's just been about her. Now I have Odette, and she's new to the game. She's new to everything, right? And it's very demanding on that side. Everyone's kind of taking a little bit of time, not time off, taking a little bit of time back to kind of focus on the new baby, right?
Yeah.
Right, which is rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see more stress.
There's been a change in the family dynamic.
Big change in the family dynamic, rightfully so, right? You have another member of it, right, who's demanding and who deserves that time. I, as a father, am grateful enough to see or to experience it's not the financial burden, it's more of the time burden, right? Like it's not a burden itself, it's just more of okay, there's a different focus there, you know. You also had
time management that you have to do,
you know, not only just being the father, but being the provider as well, right? You were in the same situation. You had 2 kids, me and Dean, right? What did you feel having the second one from the first one? I'm almost 4 years older than Dean, right? So you had me for 4 years, and then Dean came along. What did you feel during that time when you had the second one? You know what I mean? Yeah. Was there as much of a change as maybe I'm feeling? What do you think?
I don't know. So when we had you, you were 4 years old. Mom and I talked about having another baby, and we talked about it when you were 2. We talked about it when you were 3, and then it went on to 4, and we talked about it having. And Mom was going to get checked to see. She thought maybe she was pregnant, and my life at that point was so busy. That was what 91.
91 when I was born.
When you were born, yeah. And I was just starting my career, just getting to just making that leap to the 10-round, 12-round fights. And if I was fighting Troy Dorsey, I fought him in 92.
Yeah.
So things were just getting big for me and so crazy busy that maybe for me it was the wrong time to have a kid because of all the time being away from the house.
Yeah.
And I remember when Mom went to the doctor to get checked, and she goes in, and I was thinking, you know what? If she's pregnant, it's great. We're gonna have another kid, and it'll be great. And then I said, and if she's not, we'll just wait until some of this passes over.
Yeah, you were kind of gonna wait for not a better time, but another time.
Just a time that maybe I wasn't as busy as I was.
You could dedicate more.
Yeah. Well, no, not just as more. Yeah, so I could be home more or do things at the house or be more involved with the family. And she came back and she goes, "I'm pregnant." I said, "Oh, great. We're happy as heck." But at that point, we both talked about it. Okay, if you're not pregnant, we'll wait. If you are, great. And she was, and Dean was born. It's been great.
Yeah. I definitely remember, as little as I was, I definitely do remember that change of time where we were at Oppenheimer, the house before the house you built, right? And I definitely do remember that time of, I'm not saying I remember a struggle by any means. Y'all always loved me. Mom was always home. So I do remember all that. But I definitely do remember the change of Dean coming home and Dean being there and life changing after that.
Well, that's when you were talking about a while ago about the time change and the, I was going to say, and you're 34 years old. Can you imagine how Renee feels right now at 6 years old, thinking, "Wow, look at all this change.
For sure.
I got another person in here that's taking my time away.
Yeah,
that's stealing my glory and time. Whatever a 6-year-old feels at that point, she's feeling that right now.
And I feel like that's what me and my wife we thought of, but you can't feel that until you're in it, right? Where how your kid's gonna react. And for us, like I was talking to Jason about it, his kids are 3 years apart, and I was kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, man, at 3 and at 4, maybe you're not realizing that big change right off the bat. My daughter's gonna be 7, and it took me and my wife a long time to consider having another kid. And now when we're here in it, we're thinking, wow, this is a big change. We have our whole lives revolved around our one daughter, and now the second one's coming. We know how we're supposed to adapt. But how is she going to adapt? And we're seeing that right now. You know?
And for me, it's more like, let's make sure that she's adapting well and with our help, because she's the child and you're the grown-ups. You could figure,
But not only that, I think Mom put it great. And she said, the one who's going to notice all the changes right now and who you're going to have to pay attention to right now is Vinay. She's aware. She knows when you're going to say no. She knows how things are going to go. Odette may not be as aware of all of that right now, right? So the one you're going to have to focus on is Vinay. Odette's kind of on a schedule right now.
Yeah, and I understand. Like when we went to your house the other day, I went straight to Vinay and hugged her and walked around with her, because Odette's not going to notice me right now. She's not.
Exactly.
Vinay, so I walked to her and hugged her and kissed her and played with her before I even go to Odette.
And that's some of those things that I am going through as a father, a new father again, right? Of the mental struggle of that, of making sure I'm crossing the T's, dotting the I's. You know what I mean? I never really thought about that. Like I thought about how things would change, obviously, but how in specific ways that it would change, the attention I would have to give. You know what I mean? And I was just thinking if you were going through that, because I was 4, but I think you're right. You're kind of caught up in your thing, right? And rightfully so. What, did you win the title in 94? Is that 94. What it was? Yeah.
I won a NABF in 92, and the world title in 94.
So you're in
it. I was right. Yeah, right when you were born and before Dean was born, I was in it.
Yeah.
Pretty
and
deep. But the thing that helped me out was, the thing that I was so confident about was Mom was great.
Yeah.
Mom always said, don't worry about us. We got it. We got taken care of. So I didn't have to worry. I worried anyways, but Mom had just had it down.
Yeah.
Whether she was faking it or not, she had it down. She didn't. And so even when I had to leave, I would go to Houston or to Virginia Beach or Florida, and I knew Mom was holding it down really well.
That's what I feel from my wife too. I definitely feel the way we handled things of being the provider and allowing our wives to be at home with the kids is definitely a great thing. That's something that I think right now in our society isn't as, maybe not as highlighted, because right now people want to highlight women, being in the workforce, doing their thing and all that, which is great. Totally in favor of that.
And that's what, when Mom was so the funny story is that, you know the story, but some people don't know the story. In 92, when I beat Troy Dorsey on NBC, huge fight. It was a fight. I stopped him in the 5th round, but it was just a huge fight for me. It really put my name up there, and it was on NBC. It was the first fight back on NBC, Channel 4, and it was just great. And national TV, maybe worldwide TV too. I win the fight, and I tell Mom after the fight, if you don't want to work, you don't have to work. If you want to work, you can work. I mean, I was just saying, if you want to stay home, you can stay home. I got us. I got us. And the funny thing was, it was only $25,000.
Yeah,
I only made $25,000 for the fight. But back in '92, that was a lot of money. But I had so much confidence in myself that I was going to do better, and I was going to make more, and the money was going to keep coming. But $25,000. Now we go through that in a month.
But I wonder if you if things would have been the same had you not had that confidence and made that move. You did put that on your shoulders and it did work out.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened if you didn't do that. Maybe things would have been the same, but like,
Yeah,
again, as a man, you put that on your plate and you ate it.
That's
what
what
I mean?
and I've always been that way. It's, I'm going to do it either way. Remember, I already started that. People, if they've seen some of our other podcasts about my mental thinking about how positive it was, I knew I was going to make it.
Yeah.
Or I wasn't going to make it.
Because you put yourself in a situation where failure is not the option.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not you're not even considering it.
Never thought about it.
That's why I always say, like, you shouldn't have a plan B. You should have another plan A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. There's plan A and then there's plan A. And then there's plan
B,
A.
Plan B is look at plan A.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People, and it's just my approach to it. I usually say, if you have a plan A and you have a plan B, you might as well go with plan B because you're already planning to fail.
Yeah.
Plan A.
Yeah.
You know what I
You
mean?
have a second option. I didn't have a second option.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I'm feeling too. Like, my wife works when she wants to work. It's not a heavy demand. She wants to do things. She has her doctorate, so why not use it somewhat?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But by no means
And
does she need to.
and it's at the gym.
Yeah, it's with us, right?
Yeah.
So by no means does she have to do anything. But I definitely feel that's a definite. It could be a stressor for a lot of people as a man to provide, right? But at the same time, I think the way we work, it works as a motivational tool. Where I learned from you, I'm trying to do what you did, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to structure my life to where I saw it. I feel like I had a great upbringing because I had my mom and I had you, and I want my kids to feel that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, the dad's mental state may not be as focused on as everybody else's because we have to go to work no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It doesn't really matter how you feel sometimes. And I think that's what this is all about. It's kind of changing that dynamic of bringing it to the light. Like there is certain things that I can learn from you still.
And you're right, because like we talk about the mental aspect of having a lot of pressure on you, the mental aspect of trying to take care of what's at home or bills are piling up, whatever it is, that mental aspect has to be, I'm okay. I'm doing well. I'm going forward. I'm doing everything I can. I'm doing well, and I'm going to keep doing well. And but it could be stressful too.
I can only imagine being a professional athlete. That's borrowed time. You're on borrowed time there. It's not guaranteed. None of things guaranteed, especially in boxing. There's no contracts long term like that. You know what I mean? Where you're guaranteed. Well, now there is, but like you're guaranteed 10 fights and certain amount of years. Like that's when you made it. That's after you've made it a little bit. When you're in the grind, you're kind of going fight by fight.
And you only fight by. Well, even if you're a pro, I mean, even if you made it, you're still fight by fight because you could get hurt. You break a hand, when you're done for a while.
And you're out. You're not getting paid for a while.
Yeah, you don't get paid at all.
Yeah. And I feel like even what we're doing, we're self-sufficient. We have our own jobs. We have our own businesses. And we have to grind still. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. You're only going to eat what you provide or what you kill.
You work hard, right? We work hard. We're not afraid. Then that's one thing I think that I learned from my dad, and I hope you learn from me. And sometimes, I've always said, what's my saying that I say about working hard?
The harder you work, the luckier you got.
I've been saying that forever, right? And that's true sometimes. But sometimes you don't have to work super hard and kill yourself, but that's the only way I know.
Yeah.
But you guys work smarter too at times.
Yeah.
You guys work smarter. Hey, Dad, we don't have to do it that way. We can do it this way and get that same outcome. But
it's the same thing of like
I learned from you guys.
Like we know boxing, right?
Yeah.
We'll see you going hard all 12 rounds. We're like, man, we got to have a round that we can box and still win the round. You know what I mean? We got to be able to taper off and save for them when we really got to go, And I think it's just fighting smarter. It's moving smarter than harder.
Moving smarter,
Yeah, and we're trying to figure that out too. I only want to do more and all that, but I think the mental health side is such an important thing to focus on early right now in preparation for the future, because I don't know what the future holds, right? I have no idea what I have. Both of my daughters are under 7, so I have no idea what the future holds and what that changes. Like I have to kind of pay attention to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I've been telling my wife lately, I trust that you have the kids, and I have them too, and I got you. But who's got me right now? And I kind of have to focus on me a little bit.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. I want your focus to be on Odette and Vinay and yourself, and I got you too.
Yeah.
But every now and then I would like to be checked up on. Just me being bipolar as well. I do need to.
And like I don't know if it's the bipolar part talking about who's checking on me, but I think the way it sounds is maybe the way I said it is love me too. Don't forget about me.
I think
that's me saying, because like when I had mom and you and Dean and mom doing her things with you, I said I still want to be checked up on.
Yeah.
It wasn't
think-
about financial part or whatever. It's about check on me too. Don't forget about daddy over here.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of
know?
that, of course, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
be put in the back seat.
Of course,
But
yeah.
at the same time, I think me being bipolar, I don't always understand when I'm manic, when
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
depressed.
yeah.
And I do rely on my partner for that to check me,
Yeah.
right? Hey, this isn't right now. You got to kind of check this out. And Anya's very good at that.
Yeah.
But at the
She
same
knows
time,
your pattern, or
she knows my pattern.
or she knows what's gonna happen.
Exactly. But when she is on someone else's schedule now and someone else's pattern and she's keeping up with somebody else, maybe James probably has himself. I think he's got it now. And sometimes it's more of the maybe I don't right now. I'm also going through something too, and I'm not so codependent on her that I only need her, but I can't expect my daughter to tell me something. You know what I mean? Like there's only 2 adults in the house.
Yeah.
So I think there has to be who's got me? Like, you know, I'm not always so efficient. I think you need to check me.
But I think every man goes through that. I think
Do
every man wants to be checked up on. Like, mama, check on me too. Don't neglect me over here. I'm still here. I'm still grinding every day for us. I'm still check on me too. I think every man does that.
Yeah. Well, I'm good.
I would think.
Glad because I'm not.
think I
Do you
was
think,
that
Jason?
way.
You think so?
I would say so, yeah.
You want to be checked on too, right? You want
Yeah.
you want your wife to notice you. Hey, I see you there.
Yeah,
Hey, good looking. I still notice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want to be noticed. We want to be
Even
recognized.
if it's not always, even if we don't always feel comfortable vocalizing it,
Yeah.
if it comes around and she does notice, that's a big boost.
Oh yes,
For sure.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
That can make a week.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's not common.
Yeah.
And it is nice to have.
Yeah,
Your plant needs watering too,
exactly.
right?
We gotta be watered every once in a
Yeah,
while.
exactly. And that I think that's what I'm going through as just having a 2-week-old.
Yeah, and that's and Anya's busy. She's busy with Vinay. She's busy with her stuff that she does. She's busy with the baby, and sometimes they lose focus. I'm assuming they lose focus on all the other stuff, and
Even themselves sometimes.
She thinks, oh, that's good. That's doing well. That's he's taking care of. But you want to be checked up on.
Yeah,
I do. I still do to this day. If mom not paying attention to me, I make some noise.
Because even for you, like I would say, like as someone seeing somebody go like just birth your kid, when they're going through something, you're looking out for them too. You're looking out for her.
Yeah.
I'm looking out for my wife. I'm making sure she's good so she can be good for everybody. And I think that's the whole thing of like, well, look at me too, right? Because like I want to be good for everybody as well, right? And not that it's gone so bad or whatever like that, but I think I'm noticing that too. The pull with the second kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not just the one anymore.
Yeah, and what happens maybe, and I'm thinking maybe, right, is now that the baby's here, Anya has to put her attention to Vinay, the baby, and your third.
For sure.
But I don't always want to be third.
Exactly.
Put me first too, because without me, those babies wouldn't be here.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I should be first every now and
Yeah,
then.
yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean?
And that's what it is,
Or she
right?
should be first every
And that's
now
what
and
it is. Just like mom says, and it may sound bad. I don't know if it sounds bad, but to people, some people may think it's bad. Mom always says, "Hey, I fell in love with my husband first before I had these kids.
Yeah.
I gotta love him first. I love him." The way she says, but
Mm-hmm.
she loves everybody, and she loves all of us together. But the same. But she says, "I fell in love with my husband first. I gotta put him first."
I think me being me being young when I heard that from mom, I didn't register right. Just me being a kid, right?
Yeah,
Well, then why am I here? Whatever, right?
Yeah.
But being this age now, being married, having a wife who's had 2 kids, and being in that spot, I get it.
Yeah.
Your kids will leave eventually.
Yeah,
your kids are not meant to be with you forever.
You don't want them. You don't want your kids to be with you forever, right?
You want to be able to send them off with great parenting, with great ideals, with all that stuff, and still be in love and attentive to your partner.
And the thing about your kids thinking, man, Dad put mom first all the time. Isn't that the best feeling?
Yeah.
For your kids to say, man, he loved mom. He put her first.
Yeah.
And that's that's what we try to do.
And again, I'm only 2 weeks into this to having 2 kids, right? So I mean, it's not all is lost by any means.
No,
but
of
it's
course,
just one of those
yeah.
things
It's
where
just-
it's like, okay,
It's a
there's
change. It's
yeah.
a change in the dynamic of how things were running. Now things are a little different.
And for me, I'm always really well aware of my mental health and what I have to do for that. You know what I mean? I'm adjusting too. I'm adjusting my life as well. And with adjustment comes adjustments, right? It's like Sudoku. I change one thing, odds are I gotta change a lot more things, right? If one answer is wrong on the crossword, odds are there's more. You know what I mean? So you got to adjust a little bit of everything. And that's what I'm kind of going through at this moment, and I'm so happy that I have a second kid or second daughter, because we're, like you were saying, you and mom were talking about, second year, we should, talk about this. Third year, maybe we should, or whatever. And fourth year, it happened.
Yeah.
I was so certain I was not going to have another kid, and
you said, I don't know, after 7 years, it was kind of like, oh, he's not going to have another
for
one.
sure. Like, I'm already thinking, well, it's not in the cards, but I think just knowing how much love our family has to give, we had room, and we made the decision of, we have love to give. My daughter would do great as a big sister, or
and she has been
to a boy or a girl, and my wife finally convinced me that we should, and I think all those initial thoughts of you just have your second one are coming up right now, but we were ready. Like, we were ready for it. I think it's just going through it, executing it now.
They always say, people always say, I don't know if I'm ready to have another one, or are we ready? I don't think anyone's ever ready. You just do it and adjust, right?
For sure.
You have if you're, you have the kid and you adjust.
It's like there's no right time to let that punch go.
Exactly.
You just gotta throw sometimes.
You gotta let it go
and adjust to what's coming back.
You gotta let it go.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of those things I wanted. I guess, like, you and I are close, but we haven't talked about fatherhood like that. I feel like you haven't really taken me sidebar much and kind of been like, hey.
That's why. Weirdly, how Mark wasn't able to be here today and Dean wasn't able to be here today, and I thought, man, perfect just to talk with you.
Yeah,
that's a perfect time for us just to reconnect again.
We don't always I think we use this podcast a lot to kind of talk about the things we don't always have time to. You have your own schedule. I got my own schedule, especially now, right, where we may feel ourselves doing this more.
And the thing is, we're at the gym. We hardly talk, but 5 or 10 minutes because we're busy.
For sure.
All nonstop at the gym. We're not there talking. Hey, what's going on? No, we're busy. Yeah. And then you go home, I go home, and we don't. We're
busy
talk.
there.
We don't talk. Yeah, we don't talk a whole bunch.
And that's the I always say, like, me, my brother, and you, like, we're all close. We see each other every day, but we don't always take the time like we probably should.
Yeah. Sometimes we have lunches and dinners and stuff in the evenings, but not a whole bunch.
Yeah, I think this made I definitely am feeling like good that it was just us today. I feel like it was kind of needed.
I was telling Mom the same thing on the way over here. I said it was a perfect time for us to connect and talk again.
Yeah, because I'm going through a lot. Just me. I feel like I have a lot on my plate anyway. Just me. I'm a lot. You know what I mean? Just myself. Imagine me in my head. I'm a lot too. Along with the rest of the world that's around.
There's a lot of busy people in there, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. So. I think it was more of like talking to you about, hey, is this normal? Is this what I'm supposed to feel? You have 2 kids too, Like, how did this go through?
I guess when I'm a provider, like, I'm just like what you're doing. I was like, I gotta provide, I gotta give, I gotta make sure everyone's taken care of. That's what I do. We're men. Or women do it as well, but the way I was thinking is I gotta provide for my family to the best I can, and sometimes it takes. Like I told you a while back, sometimes I had to be in Houston for 8 weeks. I had to be in Dallas or wherever, in Florida for 8 weeks. But I'm providing, I'm working, and Mom had to hold down the fort, and she did it great.
I think coming around, like, to seeing how all of that came full circle for me. When I was a kid, I felt a certain way about you being gone, and now being in this position, I feel a certain way about you being gone. You're handling your shit. It's what has to happen. You know what I mean? Where as a kid level, you're thinking, man, why is my dad not here? Like, why, and you're always there for the most part, but it's like, why is he leaving? Why isn't he sleeping here? Why, you know what I mean?
And how old, you were from the time you're 4
Well, I don't know when you made training camp San Antonio. That wasn't right off the bat.
That was in probably in 99, 98, 99 when I started.
So I was already like 8 or 9. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's old enough.
And even then, even though I was making training camp in San Antonio, I wasn't staying at home. I was staying in a hotel.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was kind of one of those things where it's a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
You have the professional athlete lifestyle where I'm not always assuming that. You know what I mean? I don't know how. I always say, growing up, I didn't know how different you were from my friend's dad. Yeah. Because your dad.
I was just dad. I wasn't boxing.
And it wasn't until I got to high school where I realized, wow, like, this is different. Like, people know me. I don't even know you, right? And I didn't realize that because I grew up in a bubble. Right. Yeah. So it really didn't hit me until I got to high school how different life was.
I don't know. I don't want to say you grew up in a bubble. You just grew up being normal, thinking everyone does this, right?
Well, I definitely
maybe that is the bubble, but you thought everything was normal, right? Because it was.
The whole thing about it was, like, you didn't spoil the hell out of me. you know, or my brother. Like we got things, but we didn't ask. I feel like we didn't ask for a whole lot. It's not like we got a whole lot. Like I don't know. I feel like I always had, so I never had to ask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't ever feel like we were raised to think we were rich beyond means, and even you and mom live very humble lives. You know, you don't live above your means, and that's great. You know, I do the same thing, and I feel like I just wasn't spoiled as a kid. I didn't see the difference, right? I was still I was in the South Side. You know what I mean? I didn't know any different. All my friends are my friends, and it is what it is. I'll spend the night at their house. It doesn't matter. I didn't know until I got to high school that it was just I say it was a bubble because it was not a protective bubble, but it was just I knew my friends and all that, and the outside world didn't matter much. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when I got to high school, now it's a social thing, you know, and it's you kind of fit in where you belong or whatever, and everyone knew me in high school, and I didn't know anybody. Can you imagine that? Like I didn't know anybody. I didn't go to high school with anybody that I knew before. So I was the only one coming in from the South Side to my high school. So when I got there, I knew nobody, but everyone knew me. And it was weird. It was just a weird experience for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Growing up.
You almost felt you had to act a certain way because they knew you.
I didn't know how to act.
Yeah.
Like for me, like coming from the South Side, the only thing that I understood going to a North Side high school, the first thing I thought of was high school is going to be like Laguna Beach. You remember Laguna Beach? That's what I was like, oh, this is how high school is, because that's how their high school is. And I'm going to high school in a predominantly white area, so I'm assuming this is how it's going to be. Yeah. Because, you know what I mean? Antonian. So, you know, I felt like I was uprooted at that time, and I went to somewhere else. I didn't know how to act. I had to kind of just, you know, fake it till I made it in a way. Yeah. But everyone seemed to have known who I was or who you were, so it was kind of just a weird dynamic, you know?
Some of the Northeast high schools are a little bit closer to like the Laguna Beach. Yeah. I played basketball with guys from Reagan, and I was North Side, they're Northeast. So North Side was still like, you know, we knew we were different from South Side, West Side schools, but we still had kids that came from that area. Yeah. And we had a good mix of people. But the Northeast kids, like when I played basketball with the Reagan guys, they looked like, you know, corn-fed farm boy, white kids, real big dudes, you know. And so that was a different experience for me, finding my way amongst them when I played basketball, because I came from a little bit, you know, grimy.
It's like culture shock. Culture shock. You know, and that's what I was kind of going through.
Yeah, because you were born and raised and lived there in the South Side. And then
the first 13 years or so, 12 years of my life, you know, so there's a part of that I still miss that. I still, like, I always say, me and Dean, like, we look like where we were raised, you know what I mean? Like, I definitely look Southside. Like, I was raised there. That's who I
you are Southside.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And my brother looks very this side, like North Side, you know, and that's just great. Like, there's no right or wrong to it. It's just where we saw, you know. And I always use that comparison, like, you know, where we were raised, you know.
Yeah, if you went to the South Side, you fit right in, right?
Yeah, but I love that because I feel like I love that side of town. I don't go enough, right? We don't go back enough, but I definitely feel like there's a part of us that's always that. You were raised there, like you're from there. You know what I mean? You're just living over here. I feel. You know what I mean? And there's just always that part, and I don't want my kids to not feel that. You know, I don't. You know, thinking about all that too. Like, I want them to be well versed in where they're from in their city. You know, it's not just this side. It's always it's all sides. You know, we're primarily in Alamo Heights, Castle Hills.
But I think right now the San Antonio's kind of meshing all together now. Yeah, we're all getting meshed up together. So it's not really a west side of town. We're all the same. Well, we're all the same, but you know, we get a little bit of everything. Yeah. What do they call that? A hodgepodge, or what do they call it?
They call it a melting pot.
Melting pot. Yeah.
Everyone's kind of coming together. One taste. One flavor. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think that was what I wanted to talk to you about today, was the mental health towards fatherhood, because I'm not struggling by any means, but it's one of those things of, there it is. Like that.
You have something.
There's
now.
A change.
That's a big change too. You know, I remember the same thing that's why I was telling Mom. I was telling Mom, man, if you weren't pregnant, we could wait a little bit or just wait. But if you are, great. Because there's a doubt there too, because I was crazy busy and not knowing how am I going to fit this in too, you know?
Yeah. And there's definitely, like, I think me just being bipolar, I definitely feel like, even with my pets, there's a certain thing of, like, you know, I can disconnect. You already know. Like, I can very easily disconnect
That's
from
Mom
people.
Too.
Yeah, and it's not a good quality. You know, it's a bad quality because I cannot feel anything for you. You know, I can go there in my brain, and sometimes like even I feel bad for not spending so much time with my dogs, right? Because I'm like, man, you're here too. You're a living being too. I can only imagine if I'm third, where are y'all, right? And they feel too, you know. And there's a certain thing of it's just too much. I'm gonna disconnect, you know. And there's just one of those things where I have to also catch myself. I'm also dealing with a different set of tools than I would say. No one's normal, but the guy who may not be bipolar, who may not
different
address
thoughts,
things.
different thoughts come into your head that
For sure.
may not come to my head.
Yeah, and how different?
But
I don't know.
At the same time, though, this is how when you said that, like you feel bad that you're not giving your time to your dogs too, and remember what I used to do every night.
Yeah, you would run the dogs
every night. Whether I don't care, it was 30 degrees outside, I get on a bike and I run the dogs for each dog for.
And that's just
that's because I knew that they needed time too, you know.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing where it's like, man, there's so many different things pulling, and me being who I am and just the things that I deal with, it's not the easiest all the time. You know what I mean? And of course I'll handle it. I'm gonna handle it the way I know how to, but at the same time, it's totally different set of circumstances. You know what I mean? Even being here, like my daughter has a doctor's appointment right now, and I'm like, man, I'm here, but I also gotta pay attention to me. This was good, me and you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I needed this too.
That's what my mom was saying that too, but I was already thinking that before. I was like, man, it's
funny how it worked out.
Yeah.
As we woke up today thinking everyone was going to be here, you know what I mean? And it kind of just happened this way.
Yeah.
But you and I are the ones with the kids. Like, I'm not a kid anymore, but you had the kids. And I also think it's very different, you having 2 boys and me having 2 girls. You know, that's a totally different thing.
I can imagine. It's,
you know,
girls are tougher.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot harder having girls than it is. Well, only because I've been around Renee and I know how she is in the whole bit. But yeah, girls are tough. It's
super tough. Like it's a different tough.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
boys are I don't know. I don't know how much you can say how much difference it is, but the boys are. Well, I think it's just kind of something that back in the day, a boy falls down, and we've talked about this too, where a boy falls down, get up, shake it off, stop crying, go, you're a boy. They gotta have to get up and stop crying. You know, when you would fall down, come on, get up, tough it out. Yeah. And with the girls, you baby them and hold them, and you know right? You do that when they fall.
Well, I don't know, like, you know, to an extent.
It's not, yeah, but you got to toughen them up too, though, right? You want them to be hard, not so hard. You want them to be soft. Boys, you want to be hard. Like, oh, come on, stop crying. And then when the whole thing is, then when we grow up and we don't show our feelings to people, well, why not? I had to hold them up all of my life.
Yeah, I think you probably know the answer to this, but Vanessa Leija, you think we're letting her slide by, or do you think we're letting her not be tough?
No, she's tough.
She's a tough girl, and I think a lot of that is mainly because I'm not so like that. Even though she's a girl, like my wife grew up with sisters, so for me, she has to remind me that she's a girl. Like, you know, this isn't a boy. Like, you know what I mean? But I still think that those attributes about you are positive.
She's, I tell her, but she's the toughest girl I know.
She's very tough.
Don't do that.
She's very tough. She
puts her fist
up.
Yeah.
She's real tough, and that's how we kind of. I want her to be like that.
We always say we're not gonna worry about her in high school for sure.
She's good.
She'll be good.
You know what I mean? Like, she's a lot like me. She's very like strong-headed to a fault sometimes. You know what I mean? But she's very strong-willed and all that. She'll find a way to do what she wants to do. I just, you know, they always say you're a little easier on the second one. I know for sure. You're a little easier on Dean than you were on me.
Oh, yeah,
but
of course.
The first one's always, I think the first one always gets that.
That's what we said. The first one, everybody took care of you, make sure that you're not doing this, make sure no one's going to come by and grab you, stay clean, don't get dirty.
Yeah.
Dean's eating dirt.
He still eats dirt.
Yeah.
He still eats dirt.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where, like, you know, I'm aware of that too, and I guess you like we said on the previous podcast, for you were 4 years older having me. That's the difference between a freshman and a senior. Yeah. You should be different. Yeah. You should be smart.
More. Maybe know a little bit more.
You should know more. You should move better.
It's not your first time around. It's the second time around.
So for me, I'm just about 7 years older on this one. And it's funny because I've always used I don't know if I've used it on the podcast before. They always say your life changes every 7 years, you know, and just so happens that this has turned out this way. But, you know,
So maybe you want to, only because I don't know if we've ever talked about this or we've said this before, but you and I know this. When you and Dean didn't get along a lot. Well, y'all weren't close because of the age gap, 4 years. And I remember when you were in high school or whatever, and you and Dean weren't close because you were in high school and he was just getting into middle school.
Yeah.
You would say, when I have kids, I'm going to have them closer than 4 years apart.
Yeah.
And then so maybe now yours are 7 years apart.
Yeah.
And so you talked about that you may have mentioned why y'all waited 7 years.
I think it was hard for my wife to convince me to have another kid. You know, and that was very tough. She always knew she wanted to. After Vinay came, I was just like, man, I don't know if I have it in me to do this all again. You know, not because it was so hard, but I love the way this family's working right now. I love the way I can give all of my attention to one kid, you know, and she doesn't have to worry about anything. She doesn't have to, you know, she's always going to have us or whatever. And I can't tell you what changed my mind, really. Like, I can't tell you why. It's just one of those things where it was the beginning of last year, 2004, January 2004. And we were just like, yeah, like, I think it's time. Like, before it gets too far, before we get too old, you know what I mean? And I saw it in my wife, just like the door opened, right? And she took it, like, yeah, let's go, you know? And that was just one of those things. That's all she needed to hear. And she was all for it, you know what I mean? And it was very much me. I was the hesitator on that one, you know? And I think it was just me, really, it was just me being me and me trying to feel like, when is the right time?
Yeah.
If I were to do this.
Analyzing everything.
I was overanalyzing. When's the proper time to do it? And by no means do I regret it, because I also feel like, you know, we did the whole baby thing with Vinay, and we're going to do it all again with Odette. You know what I mean? And it's almost like you're raising a single kid again, like a just a one kid again.
But with three of y'all doing it now, because Vinay's helping.
Yeah, you know, and I don't know if that's going to be accurate or not. You know what I mean? I can't control if they're close or not in age or whatever. Yeah. I think it also had a lot to do with like how I guess I saw my brother raised, where I was like, man, you're getting away with that. Like, nah. You know what I mean? Where it was a little bit of that too, where I don't understand at that time, where now I do, you know, and that's like you always said, wait until you have kids. I understood it with the first one, but now I get it when I had the second one. Yeah. Wait till you have kids. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Things you know, I understand it. Things change and perspectives change.
When you're in an auto accident, you shouldn't be concerned with legal runarounds, just real advice. You deserve an attorney ready to work for you, an attorney that won't back down.
My parents are from the west side of San Antonio, and they taught me the value of hard work and fighting for what is right.
Raul B. Rodriguez and his team care about ensuring you and your family are represented, whether on the road or in the workplace. Raul is real, and Raul won't back down. Call 210-899-0300 to schedule a free consultation.
Well, like you said, though, you said this, you're 7 years wiser as a parent, and for Odette, and you know, I was 4 years wiser with Dean, and when you know better, you do better. Yeah. Right?
And I think we're me and my brother were all cut from the cloth of we want to give our family everything. You know, I see that in my brother. I see it in you still, right? And I definitely have that. And, you know, I think it's just when there's one more person, it's like, well, okay, is there enough of me to go around? And there is, you know what I mean? Like, even for me, I was saying, like, this feels like the Grinch when his heart was getting bigger and he was just, like, you know, freaking out because his heart's growing. Yeah. It felt like that. It felt like, damn, like, my heart's getting bigger now. But I didn't know there was those spaces. I didn't know that it was that big, you know? I didn't know I can give this much, you know, and you can.
You know, it was funny because, not funny, but I'm talking to my cousin on Facebook yesterday, we're messaging each other. She's my dad's brother's daughter, and we're talking about kids that have, you know, she said congratulations on your grandbaby. I said, yeah, I'm so happy about it. We're happy, the whole family's doing great. And she goes, yeah, she had 9 kids.
Can't imagine that.
Yeah,
they need a Netflix subscription.
She had 9 kids. Yeah, and that's why I said, yeah, cable was out.
Yeah, you need a TV.
So she said she had 9 kids and 33 grandkids.
Damn, they need the family bundle pack.
And I think she said, and 14 great grandkids.
That's insane.
And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm so blessed.
I bet.
Can you imagine that family? And Leija's, and there's a different last name.
That's a community right there.
Yeah, that's 2-3 basketball teams.
That's an apartment. That's an apartment complex.
Yeah, but that's pretty. And you know, like, and they're happy. You know, that's what I'm saying. You just roll with it, right? You don't know. There's no right or wrong. You just do it.
And
Just
you
have
know,
kids.
I think our family's been so small, and I always say
Yeah.
small in the sense of who we're around. I know there's a
Yeah.
lot more Leijas and all
There's
that
Leijas
stuff.
everywhere, yeah.
It's
but
just the ones who we're around. You know,
our immediate family is small.
immediate family or our
It's really
circle,
small,
I'd
yeah.
say, right?
Yeah.
It's always been small ever since I was
Mhm.
small,
Mhm.
and I think now that it's growing like that, it's just whoa, like it's just kind of like happening fast.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Dean to have a kid, right? But like even then, it's gonna get bigger and bigger, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, like I can only imagine. You have 2 grandkids now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I only had myself and I didn't have, but mom and dad. We had 3 kids. There was 3 kids in the family, which are small. My sister has 1 daughter, my brother has 1 son, and then I have 2 sons. And that's a small family.
Yeah.
And now it's growing a little bit with you, and you know,
I
you
have
guys
2,
having
like-
kids, and hopefully Dean will have a couple of kids, or you know, it's just growing. We're
Yeah.
small, but we're growing.
For sure. That's why we always say we're small, but we pack a punch, you know, and that's just one of those things. you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, you know, I think it was good to just catch up on that. I think, you know, these elements will definitely pour into previous like in future podcasts, just because it's fresh on my mind, right? It's what I'm going through
Yeah.
currently. And I thought it was a big deal to kind of it kind of pull the curtain back and expose the mental health side of what we're going through as people.
Yeah, and the
You
whole
know?
thing too, though, is like what I told you after you had that. Well, I'm always gonna be here.
Yeah.
Mom and I will always have your back. Dean's back. We're here no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's never gonna be a fall, because they're like kids, right?
Mm.
You're gonna fall, but I'm gonna help you fall down lightly.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not gonna fall hard.
Mm.
So
And I think that's the whole thing. Like I tell people, like if you have supportive parents and all that, how far are you really gonna fall?
yeah.
You got to be realistic,
Yeah.
right? If you have supportive parents, like you can use them, like their support. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they almost to a point, they almost want you to rely on them too. Like
Yeah.
that's what they're there for.
We're still
You're
mom
taking
and
their
dad.
job.
We're still
away.
mom
yeah.
and dad. It's like Renee's 20 years old, 23 years old, and she goes, "Dad, I need you." You're gonna be there like that, right?
For sure. That's
There's
the
there's no,
thing.
you don't hesitate.
Mm.
She could be 40 years old. Dad, I need this. Boom.
Yeah.
You're there. You're not gonna hesitate. You don't. You don't. It doesn't stop. It doesn't change.
To harp on that point, there's a interaction that I had with my father-in-law many years ago when I had Vinay, the first one, right? And I kind of got exposed a little bit to different parenting styles, right? As you kind of get older, you start seeing not everyone parents the same. And my father-in-law said something to the effect of, well, we'll see how well she listens to you when she's 16. We'll see if she comes to you and talks to you when she's 16. And this is something for the viewers, like just something like a little something to keep in your back pocket if you have kids or
So
if you have...
he's kind of saying like your growth change or people change, kids change.
I
At
forgot-
16, they're everywhere, right?
I forgot the context of
Yeah.
it. And it was something to the extent of, I guess my wife didn't talk to him that much when
Okay.
she was 16,
Okay.
right? And I said, well, that would be really reflective of what happens right now. If I don't talk to her now when she's 3, why would she come talk to me when she's 16?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
If I'm not a reliable source now, why would she think I'm a reliable source later?
Yeah.
Right. So it starts now, right? So I'm very attentive to everyone's feelings in the house, my newborn, my 6-year-old, because I want them to come to me later.
Mm-hmm.
I think later reflects how you were when they were young.
Yeah.
Can I rely on this person? Is this person a good ear?
Mm-hmm.
Is this person gonna berate me when I tell them how I feel? Is this person gonna meet me with negative energy when I'm trying to express myself?
Yeah.
You know who to go to and who not to go to.
It's like having a friend, right? One of those friends the friend that you can go to for anything, he's gonna help you. To the friend that you can go to and say, well, I'm busy, I got this. But he's still a good friend, but he doesn't have that time for you. But one friend has it all.
So you know who to go to when you need it, right?
Exactly.
And for me, I always want to be that person. That's why I'm very vocal with my kids, and I want them to tell me, how do you feel? You know what I mean? Whatever, I always ask them. Because I want them to tell me later. You know what I mean? I want to be an ear later.
Yeah.
I try to handle things as best as I can now, so that later they see that Dad's kind of chill. Like
I could always count on that.
I can count on Dad. He's not gonna come down hard on me if it's nothing crazy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And they can talk to me or whatever. But it was just interesting because he was already assuming, well, they're not gonna talk to you because they didn't talk to him. I would assume, right?
Yeah.
And you always kind of see like people always I always see people expose themselves in that way. You know, like if I said, they ain't gonna talk to you later, like it's just universal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no change in it.
Yeah.
But it's because they didn't talk to him because he must have missed something somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that, you know. And that's just a little thing that I've always kept in my mind, having girls especially.
Well,
you know?
you're that way. You're different, Dad, than from what I was, because you learn better, right? You learn more. I see you with Vinay, and you sit down and talk to, okay, tell me what's going on. Tell me why you're doing this. Tell me you talk to her. You don't question her or anything. You talk to her.
Well, like, you know, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but I told my wife, I raised her like if she was bipolar. Just because you don't know, she could be later on down the road, but I want to be attentive to her feelings. I want to be attentive to her emotions as well, you know, because I want her to know if she did have that down the road, I can be a resource. Yeah, you know, and why not raise them like that? You know, why not be overly attentive to feelings and emotions? Because we all have them.
Do girls have feelings and emotions?
I'll tell you what. I'll say that, even being around my wife and being in a house full of women, the girls, I have more of the emotions still.
you beat them.
Yeah, and not because I'm feminine by any means. Emotions are I'm human. Emotions come in humans. I'm not a robot. Yeah, you know what I mean. But I think dealing with what I deal with, I have a heightened emotions, and I go through more of them throughout the day, I would assume. Or maybe I'm just more vocal about them that I go through, and my wife may not be. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I still feel like I got everyone beat on the emotional side. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, on your side, the girls you're around are tough girls too.
They are. So, and mom, girls. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, they're tough, you know? And I don't know. I just always thought that was an interesting thing. And I'm not assuming everyone's parenting that way. But, you know, it's something that I have to, hopefully I get some good comments on this. Or
it's
kind
of like a fight. It's kind of like fighters, right? Like, there's so many different brands, or not brands, but different styles of fights, like you said. And people have their different styles of emotions, different feels, and they cope with things differently too than what we're.
And some wrong moves might be right for others, and some right moves may be wrong for others, you know. And that's what, I guess, the whole, just me being a parent to young kids, I'm just like, okay, I'm feeling it out, you know. My older daughter is changing a little bit now, right? She is aware of, okay, mommy may not have as much time now, so how do I deal with that?
That's the tough one, right? When you hear that, mom doesn't have enough time for me.
Yeah, so how do I deal with that, you know? And how do we approach that, and how do we reassure her that no, it's just, you know, it's just temporary, it's just what it is, you know?
You said y'all saw a video of something, the sister or whatever.
Yeah, so we were, you know, I realized we didn't really debrief her much on what to expect and how she can help, and we were just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen and how she would handle it without actually being proactive on it, which I don't see how I missed that one. But within the first week that we brought Odette home, we were trying to vocalize it. We were trying to explain it to a 6-year-old, but it's kind of tough. Like, 6-year-olds learn by videos and books and whatever, right? It's the technological age now. So I found a video of like big sister stuff, an animated video of like big sisters, and kind of not glorifying it, but kind of being like, this is good. Like, you know, your family's growing. Like, you're not the little one anymore. You have a big responsibility. Like, you're going to help your parents, and you're going to have fun with your parents doing this. And this is going to be your best friend growing up. You know, you have a say in how they're being raised a little bit, you know? And I had to show her that video, and she got so excited about it immediately. And it was just one of those things where she's watching the video and it says, you know, are you recently a big sister? You know, are you a good, you know, video, whatever, you know, are you ready to be a good big sister? Like, and she just lit up.
She's all in.
Right? And it just took that little bit of explaining the right way, you know, that I had to figure out. And I guess this is one of those things that was in my head coming here. As a man or as a father, maybe you expect to have all the answers, right? Or maybe you're expected to have all the answers. And I won't agree with that, but I would expect me to be able to find the answer. It's my job to find the answer, not to have all of them, but
I'll
to
get
be able
the answer.
To be able to get
I
the
mean, I know
answer.
it, but I'll get it.
Yeah, that's my job too.
Yeah.
Not always I'm just built to have the answer, but I'm built to find it for you. If I'm not explaining it right, I got to figure out how to do it. It's just like for us training people. You know, like the first way you say it may not click, and then
you had 10 different people, and you train them the same way. They're all gonna receive it differently,
or not. You know, and you got to adjust. And I think that's what we do well, is training at the gym and teaching people how to box and fixing their emotional state when they come in. Maybe they're not anywhere where they should be working out, but we find a way to work around it, right? And how to apply certain things. And that's what I'm doing here, you know, but it's just funny how things are kind of working right now.
And sometimes it's sometimes the way you teach is not by what you say, is but what you do, right?
Yeah.
In teaching certain ways, is people learn by um, by you doing it, not by you talking about it.
Yeah. Like your actions are gonna speak louder, right?
Yeah.
That that was always one of those things where I felt like we didn't really have the dad talk. Like we didn't have that really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's good. But again, even if we did, I would still have to figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those like I'm glad we're able to have it now to an extent. Because I am in that point where I've been a dad for almost 7 years, but the situations are changing.
Now you're a dad to 2 girls.
2 girls, and like you had said before, like you were raising men. You were trying to raise men how to be great men, right? I think you did a damn good job. And I hope I can do the same thing in being a man that would show their daughter who to pick in a partner. You know what I mean?
Or what to expect in a partner.
Or what to expect in a partner, or what they should look for.
Yeah.
And I always
well,
say
you're perfect. They're gonna see you and say, man, this. If my boyfriend, or when they get older, obviously, right? My boyfriend's not like this, or he's not doing this. He's not the guy.
Yeah,
because I know what. Yeah,
I want to set that standard so high that I'm like, this guy, really? Like, you know what I mean? And it's just one of those things. But I don't second guess myself at all. I don't feel like I have time for that. I don't have time to second guess what I'm doing. I just have time to get better at it.
Yeah.
And this is a little obstacle that I'm trying to get good at. I'm like me. I always say the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So for me, I'm a go getter. I'm gonna go figure out the best way to do everything, and that's my job.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And especially raising women.
I tell everybody, man, you're a great dad. You're a great dad. You do it. And I always tell people, you're a lot better than I was. That's for sure. Because I was gone a lot of times, but you're more attentive to Renee. You're like, man, you're there no matter what.
I try to be.
Yeah. And you're gonna do the same thing with Odette. So.
Yeah, I think it was mainly because I always say like I was around mom so much that I kind of got those things of I want to be there. I want to give. Not that you weren't, but I wanted. I was around mom a lot. I still talk to mom a lot. I still not a lot, but I still talk to her about certain things, and I want to be that person. I want to give them what mom gave me. And I want to give them what you gave me too. That's that hard stuff, right? Where it's like you just because you're a girl don't mean I ain't gonna. Yeah. I'm just gonna pick you up. Like, come on, like pick yourself up. You know what I mean? And it's a little bit of blending both of them. I think the whole thing of raising men is sometimes you get lost on the emotional part, right? Whatever. Yeah. And I think with women raising girls, sometimes you get lost on the physical part of like, you got to be tough too. Men have to be emotional. You're a human being. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to tap into that. If it motivates you, if you don't tap into it and it's messing you up, you're messing up, right? But if I'm raising women, I got to do both. I got to be attentive. You should be doing both anyway, but I got to be attentive to their emotions, but also toughen them up too. This world ain't going to just coddle you.
And I think like for my generation and people older than me, we have to realize too that we don't always show the emotions because we were always taught as kids not to show emotion. Yeah. Toughen up, be tough. You're a boy, you don't cry.
That's still going on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, I know, but back then it was happening like now. Now it should be and I'm a crier. I cry all the time. But that's my emotions because I believe in them so much that I'll cry or whatever. Or I'm so upset that I'll cry. But I show my emotions. But if I most of the time I was taught not to show them and to hide them. Yeah. And so when you do show them as a man, people say, "Oh man, what a."
And that's even in fighting too. Like you can't show them you're hurt. You can't show them anything, or you gotta. You're
in trouble if you show them you're hurt.
Yeah, that's blood in the water. You know what I mean? And that's what we were always taught. Even when I was fighting, it's like, all right, like I'm stone cold faced. I ain't gonna show you shit. You know. And there's you can't be that way in everything. And I think we definitely have a good balance of that. Yeah. Just coming from the family I came from. But yeah, I always like. This is one of those moments where I always felt like I would have loved to like have Grandpa here just to see like, man, what was that like? Like, I wonder how that conversation would have gone with him. Like, would he relate to this or?
Well, I think no, he would because Grandpa didn't change because of as a person or whatever, but he was that tough guy. You don't show emotion, you don't hug.
Yeah, but I wonder how it would have been around this talk. You know what I mean? Like if he was here, like.
You don't tell your son you love him. You don't kiss your son. You don't do anything. So when Dad was around, Grandpa was around, the first thing I would do is go up to him and kiss him and hug him, and he'd go, "No, get away." But he loved every second of it, But I would always tease him that way. "Come here, Dad, kiss me, kiss." And he would, "No, get away." But he just loved it.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't that. It wasn't. wasn't supposed to be that way for him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't supposed to be that way for him. So when he's getting it, he loves it. But,
yeah.
you know, it's almost
I'm
like,
the
this
tough-
is wrong.
Don't
Like, there's
show,
no way.
don't do that. I'm the tough guy. And I say, yeah, okay, I'm the
Yeah, you don't have to be
hugging
tough
him and
all the
kissing
time.
him.
That's
Yeah.
funny. Well, I'm glad I got to, you know, have this talk with you just like one-on-one, because I feel like we
yeah.
needed it a little bit.
Yeah.
Or I did. I don't know about you. Like,
I need it more. I think.
you know what I mean? I think it was just like, you know, I'm going through life. I'm 34, you know, and I just realized how here I have to be. You know, I'm taking care of my health a little bit better.
Yeah.
No, y'all don't realize it, but I'm losing a little bit of weight. I'm trying to take care of myself. And, you know.
It's hard to work out, and we're so busy with the clients,
Yeah.
moving around. By the time we're done, we're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. And then just try to work out, it's really tough. We move around, but we're not really working out.
Yeah. And, you know, our schedule ain't any tougher than anybody else's. I think we can take time, you know, and that's just me finding that dedication to myself too, right? I don't want to lose myself. I don't want to put myself in the backseat either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I also have to be aware of myself. And
You gotta be strong and around for your family, so you gotta take care of yourself.
yeah,
so you
and I
can be
think that's the
around.
big thing of the mental health part as far as fatherhood goes is, if, like Mom always used to say, if you're not good, how good are you for anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
And that's so
Yeah.
powerful, right?
Yeah.
Even a relationship, fatherhood.
Everyone, you gotta be good. You gotta be content. You gotta be happy. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know why I was talking. Something was happening, but if you don't love yourself 100%, you don't love who you are, what you do, and who you've become. How's anyone else gonna love you like that? If you don't love yourself, who's gonna love you?
Not only that, if you don't love yourself, how can you love anybody else?
Yeah, you don't have enough love for yourself. Well, you can't give love out. It's
Exactly.
hard.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, right? But
It's like if you're in the ring, if you don't believe in yourself, who will?
yeah,
Who's gonna cheer for you if you're not cheering for you?
and I'm so in love with myself.
I mean, I am.
Yeah,
But everyone
yeah.
knows that. Everyone knows
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But because you know what, and the whole thing about it is, I wouldn't say I'm a cocky person, but I really put that out there because I know how it feels to not love myself. I've been there. You know what I mean? And this is so much better. I don't care anybody's perspective of it.
You can't.
I don't lose any sleep over it. You know, I've lost sleep over my perspective of myself before. And me feeling like this, I can't worry about how you feel
But I
about
have
it.
two options. I either hate myself or I love myself. I might love myself.
Yeah.
That's
Especially
the
if you've
best
hated
option.
yourself before.
Yeah, yeah.
Why not love yourself, right?
Yeah.
This is so much brighter. And that person who's behind this, who's watching this on YouTube or whatever and says, look at that guy, there's no reason to be all that. Walk a day in my shoes, then you'll love yourself. You know what I mean? Just because you know what it felt like to hate yourself, you know, and
Yeah.
that's the whole thing, you know. But yeah, I'm glad we got to do this. You know, for anybody watching, if you have kids, hug them, give them a kiss today, give them a text message, send out.
Whether they're a boy or girl, they're your kids, you hug them and kiss them.
Whether you're a mom or dad, you know what I mean? You never know how far that goes. You never know how that support goes. That one text or that one, if you're watching this, pull your phone out. Stop this video, pull your phone out. Give them a good word. Give them just, I'm thinking about you. I love you. And your kids, do it for your parents if y'all are watching this. You know what I mean? You never know. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. I am aware of how important my role is here. You know, he was very important in my life, right? If he wasn't here, I don't know. I don't know what that would have happened. And none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. So, you know, make the best of it today. You know, one day, all those thoughts that are going through your head, you might be right one day. Odds are it's probably not today. So make the most of it. You know, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you think somebody will benefit from watching this podcast or any previous episode that we've had talking about mental health or anything, please share the video, share a snippet. You know, it goes a long way. Not that we're anything crazy. You know, we're just speaking from the heart. We're speaking from experience of having the experience of, you know, mental health issues and even just going through certain things, you know what I mean, of life, of a different type of life that I've experienced riding the life with you. I got to experience life with you.
And you know, like, it's just our life. It's not nothing. I always tell people, I just had a different job. It's still a job. I'm still doing my stuff, still working, you know, 8-10 hours a day, whatever. I'm just doing a different job. So it's nothing like glamorous, just hard work.
It's hard work either way, you know. And I always used to say, like, you know, having a professional athlete in the house does something different. But I can only imagine having a father who works a 9 to 5. That's tough.
Yeah.
Being able to get up and do the same thing every day, providing for your family.
That's
There's
hard,
no
yeah.
real excitement to it. You're just doing it and you're grinding 9 to 5. You're doing the same thing every day. Shout out to you, because I mean, someone's got to do that, and you're grinding. That's the grind. You know what I mean? Like getting up, motivated every day, knowing you're going to see the same thing. You know, shout out to that person,
Yep.
because that's a tough one. You
That's
know,
a tough one. Yeah.
I feel like people are trying to avoid that and trying to find the shortcut to life, and they're you know, they'll eventually hit that roadblock where, man, hard work, you can't avoid it.
Yeah. And like they say, there's 1%ers find that or do that, right? It's just the 1%. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, it's not, you know, and we're still working hard. Like we're there every day. We're fixing the gym up. We're doing this. We're doing the foundation. We're trying to make a difference in people's lives, one person at a time, one episode at a time. Like, we're working, you know what I mean?
And I always show people I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah, we get to work with you. Like, we get to see y'all.
I get to work with my kids every single day. I have a great wife who's at home taking care of the things I can't take care of. She's with me. You know, it's the best life.
Yeah. And we have our extended family out here watching too. So, you know, guys, thank you for tuning in. We hope you like episodes like this. This is what we're about. You know, we're not hiding anything. We're very open people, especially with who we are. There's a reason why we have a mental health foundation. We're the right people for it. You know what I mean? We're trying to change the family dynamic a little bit, change masculinity just a little bit, trying to expand it, not try to stay boxed in it. You know, it's something to grow from. You know, yeah, if anybody can benefit from this, please share it with them. Thank you for tuning in. Be on the lookout for next episode. We got some things planned for y'all.